Hello, it is now Pride 2023. However, this year is probably one of the most dangerous prides in many years. In this video, I'll talk about the history of Pride Month, the history of LGBTQ rights, why LGBTQ rights are in danger, and how transgender people are currently under attack. It was 1969 in the Greenwich Village neighborhood of New York City. During the 1950s and 60s in the U.S., police routinely raided gay bars, as gay bars, and even gay people, were seen as inherently illegal and immoral. On June 28th, the police Public Morals Squad raided a gay bar named Stonewall Inn. Deciding to arrest all of the customers, police officers took the customers that were dressed as women to the bathroom to verify their sex, feeling some of them up inappropriately in the process. The raid did not go well as planned, as people said enough was enough. After police roughed up a woman outside the bar, she yelled at the bystanders and shouted, "Why don't you guys do something?" Suddenly, hundreds of people began to fight back in the streets against discrimination and inequality. Someone in the crowd declared that the bar had been raided because they didn't pay off the cops, to which the crowd started to throw coins at the police as they shouted pigs. Then the coins turned into bricks. 10 police officers barricaded themselves inside the Stonewall Inn. Soon over 1,000 people were protesting in the streets, which continued until July 3rd. The Stonewall Riots inspired the formation of the Gay Liberation Front, the first LGBTQ equal rights group. A year after the uprising, the first gay pride marches took place in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco. Each year, we celebrate June as Pride. However, it still took many decades before we would see action on a nationwide level. Primarily, LGBTQ rights victories have been found in the Supreme Court and only in the last 2 decades. With Lawrence versus Texas in 2003, the court ruled that sanctions of criminal punishment for those who commit sodomy are unconstitutional. In United States versus Windsor in 2013, the court overturned the Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA, and the federal government had to recognize same-sex marriages from states that allowed them. With Obergefell versus Hodges in 2015, the court ruled that all states must license and recognize the same-sex marriage, and the right to adopt was guaranteed to same-sex couples. In Bostock versus Clayton County in 2020, the court held that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 protects employees against discrimination because they are gay or transgender. I want to point out what these Supreme Court rulings do not protect. Housing discrimination is still legal in many states, as well as discrimination in accommodations like restaurants, theaters, and other businesses. There are no protections for LGBT people in medical services, and providers do not have to recognize the rights of same-sex partners or patients. There are only minor LGBTQ protections in the education with Title IX, but many of those protections are already being challenged. Also, a number of anti-trans legislation have either been introduced or even passed recently that restricted or banned the use of bathrooms or participation in sports. There have also been a number of bills this year that have focused on banning gender-affirming healthcare. In today's political climate, transgender people and drag queens are the target of hate and discrimination. We have recently learned that what the Supreme Court giveth, the Supreme Court can take it away. In 2022, the Supreme Court ruled the case Hobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization. The Dobbs ruling overruled the previous landmark Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade. For almost 50 years, Roe guaranteed a constitutional right to abortion. What stands today is a chaotic patchwork of states that either allow, restrict, or ban abortion care to women. In addition, this sets a dangerous precedent that long-standing court rulings can easily be overturned. Even when Roe was still intact, many states had old abortion laws remaining on the books. Furthermore, in anticipation of the Dobbs decision, many Republican states passed trigger laws that would be put into effect if Roe was overturned. If LGBT rights are overturned by conservative courts, just being gay will be illegal in 9 states. If LGBTQ rights are overturned, old marriages would still have to be recognized, but new marriages would only be legal in 18 states. Employment protections in states widely vary from protecting either both sexual and gender identity, protecting one identity but not the other, in both in private and public jobs, in public jobs, or no protections at all. There are only 2 federal laws on the books protecting LGBTQ people: the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crime Prevention Act of 2009 and the Respect of Marriage Act of 2022. The problem with the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act is that it only applies to crimes that have been committed which were motivated by prejudice on gender or sexual identity. It really doesn't actually prevent these crimes, just imposes stiffer penalties on these crimes. The problem with the Respect for Marriage Act is it only requires the government to recognize same-sex marriages at the federal level and compels all U.S. states and territories to recognize the validity of same-sex and interracial marriages. However, it does not require states to issue new marriage licenses. Beyond that, in the Supreme Court rulings, the LGBTQ have no federally protected rights. With the Dobbs ruling, the cultural war is in full swing. Over 500 anti-LGBTQ bills have already been introduced in state legislatures across the United States since the start of the year. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I take it as a personal attack when somebody says that they are Republicans. Republicans are the ones who are trying to pass anti-trans laws in the states. Republicans are the ones trying to overturn LGBT protections in the court. Republicans are the ones who are banning any mention of sexuality or gender identity in schools or books. On the other hand, Democrats are not perfect, with some being ambivalent or unresolved to the needs of the LGBTQ people. But rest assured, we need to take sides. Neutrality only helps the oppressor and never the oppressed. In today's cultural wars, you are either with us or you're against us. The attack on transgender people has no basis in science or medicine. Gender dysphoria is a recognized medical condition that is described as the feeling of discomfort or distress that might occur in people whose gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth or sex-related physical characteristics. Gender-affirming care is supported by the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the American Psychological Association, and many other professional medical associations. There is no evidence that supports that this treatment causes harm to children. However, data indicates that 82% of transgender individuals have considered killing themselves, and 40% have actually attempted suicide. That is compared to the 5% suicide attempt rate in the general population. Gender-affirming care saves lives. Scientifically, sexual differentiation is a multifactorial process that involves many genes, both autosomes and allosomes. 21 variants in 19 genes have been found in estrogen signaling pathways of the brain critical to establishing whether a brain is masculine or feminine. Scientists can also see the difference in the brain that transgender females more match the brains of other females and not the brains of males. Transgender males match the brains of other males and not the brains of females. Some people are claiming that being transgender is against their religion. But where in the Bible does it say you can't be transgender? Nowhere. There's not one single verse in the scripture that discusses transgender identities. On the other hand, when did these anti-trans Christians forget the teachings of Jesus? You know, the stuff about treating others the way you want to be treated, loving thy neighbor and thy enemy, value of forgiveness, and judge not, or lest you be judged yourself. I really doubt that Jesus would agree with treating people disrespectfully and discriminating against them, because it really isn't against their faith, but against their politics. All of this is part of the Republican cultural war. They are attacking anything that is different, what they don't understand, or doesn't match their narrow moral beliefs. Instead of dealing with climate change, the economy, the banking crisis, or anything with real-world consequences, they build division in a country by labeling liberals as the enemy and attack transgender people, drag queens, abortion care, immigrants, Black Lives Matter, or anything that promotes inclusion and diversity. Here's the part where I ask the viewers to take action. Yes, even you can make a difference. If you have an opinion on a news story, don't just post about it online. Write your elected officials. Find out who your city council member is, your mayor, your county commissioner, your state representative, your state senator, your governor, your U.S. representative, your U.S. senators, and even the president, and let them know what you think. Second, I am linking the article in the description below on 100 organizations supporting trans people in all 50 states. Consider finding one of those organizations and donating to them. So this concludes my second video. Please do all those YouTube things, like, share, subscribe. Also consider going to my Etsy art sale. As you can see from behind, I've got many illustrations for sale. And until next time, thank you.